Hello and welcome to Newsroom. I am Jawad Tehami. We are going to discuss two topics today in this show. The first issue which we are going to discuss is that relates to the rising incidence of Islamophobia in India. Two BJP leaders have hurled hurtful and derogatory remarks against Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and a very strong reaction not only from Pakistan but also from the Gulf countries that include Saudi Arabia, Iran, Kuwait, Qatar, as well as the OIC has come to the fore, and they have condemned this particular attitude by the top BJP leaders in the strongest of terms. And the second issue that relates to the killing spree the Indian occupation forces have unleashed, particularly targeting the youth in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. So let's begin with the first topic. Since the revocation of Article 370 in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir, we have seen that there had been a lot of discrimination not only in Kashmir but also within India, especially against the minorities and targeting Muslims in particular. So Muslims have faced in particular the wrath of the extremist Hindu groups that include the RSS, which is patronized by the ruling BJP and also facilitated by the state apparatus over there in India. Now, the list is very long. The discriminatory attitude towards the Muslims, it includes hijab ban, the damage to the Muslim property, and then now the derogatory remarks against and about the supreme personalities of Islam, which has been condemned, of course, by the international community as well. And now, not only Muslim countries, but also Canada has also condemned this particular attitude by the top BJP leaders. And talk more about this, we are now joined on Skype by Mr. Kaswar Klasra, who is a journalist who is joining me on Skype. Mr. Kaswar Klasra, thank you very much for your time at Newsroom. What sort of a mindset does it depict when we see such hurtful remarks coming from the top BJP leadership, and there hasn't been any sort of an action taken by the party leaders over there or the top command of the party?
Well, thank you very much for having me on your show. Let me tell you, as we have discussed it many a times before as well, that under Modi, India doesn't need any, the enemy, and it has been proved at many occasions, and this is gonna be another occasion as well. So you have to consider their statement, the statement by the BJP spokesperson, the central spokesperson, and even I am not in a position to repeat their words. But one thing is clear, that is, there is no place for the Muslims, for the minorities there in, the world's so-called, a democracy in the world. I'm talking about India. So it has been clear that they don't care about minorities, they don't care about their religion, and this is not going to be the first time that they have done. They have brought shame to the Indians as well. But I am really pleased with what the Middle East and European and American have responded to their statements as well. Middle East has responded, and in fact they have slapped India on their face soon after the shameful statement that came out from the BJP spokesperson. And now there is a cover-up, what I can see. The BJP is trying to cover up the shame and which has been done by their correspondents. But I think these two correspondents, their spokesperson have done great damage to India, and they have rightly exposed the true face of BJP, Modi, and India, of course, with exception to some of our friends there in India. But I think they have, the BJP has shown true colors with Modi taking, the supervision of India as well. And the way Saudi Arab, the Middle East, Qatar, and Organization of Islamic countries have responded to their shameful statement that is super, that is fantastic. And you have rightly
Mr.
pointed
Klasra
out,
rightfully
not
said, beg your pardon for the interruption, you've rightfully said there is a huge condemnation pouring in from across the globe, not only from the Muslim countries, not only from the OIC, but also from other countries who understand the sensitivity of this matter, especially given the framework or the scale of India as a country as it is, the so-called largest democracy in the world, with having a population of over 220 million, which are Muslims. Now, when we talk about this particular ideology, since 2014, since the arrival of BJP in 2014, and then they came back in 2019 as well, such type of incidents have risen manyfold, given the facts that it is driven by the Hindutva policy, and they just want to drive all the minorities, particularly Muslims who happen to be in such a huge chunk over there, to drive out from their territory. Am I correct?
Definitely, you rightly pointed out, but let me correct you on some particular facts as well. This is not the ideology of BJP. Rather, BJP has done great job in the past as well. You must remember, you must appreciate Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, who came across, who crossed the border riding a bus, who came to Pakistan, and he was great supporter of the interfaith harmony and the good relationship between Pakistan and India and other, the SAARC countries as well. But this time, BJP is based on Hindutva policy that has been, introduced by the current president of BJP, I think, Mr. Modi. And this is what Modi has been doing in the past as well. Don't you remember what he had done there in Gujarat when he was the chief minister of, the Gujarat state? He has been known as the butcher of Muslim over there. So BJP has done great job in the past of it. But
So
right
you
now,
mean to say,
it's
Mr.
not the
Klasra, that
ideology
it
of
has to deal with demagoguery rather than with the entire party and its framework?
exactly.
Okay, so what sort of an impact do you think it leaves on the social fabric of the Indian society? Is it detrimental to that?
Well, when we talk about Indian society, sadly, the majority of the population over there, they are anti-state. They are anti-Muslim and especially the anti-minority as well. We have seen in the past, as you have rightly pointed out, soon after Modi Sarkar came into being, we have seen a number of attacks. The number of attacks has been increased not only on the Muslims, but on the Christians, Parsis, and all sort of minorities over there. I think this has been polarized the India's society, which have been a very vibrant society, secular society, but soon after the induction of the Modi Sarkar, I think India doesn't need enemies. You can't imagine the anger that the Middle East has shown soon after this incident in Qatar, in Saudi Arabia, in Dubai, in Canada, in everywhere over the world. They have condemned Modi Sarkar and India as well. Even the Indian Muslim and Indian, some of my friends there in Hindu friends as well, I spoke to last night. They were anguished. They were really angry at what the BJP has done to India. And I will repeat once again that with Prime Minister Modi as the supervisor, as the Prime Minister of India, India doesn't need enemy. And you can't imagine the fact that the degree of the condemnation that came from Middle East and especially from the United Arab Emirates and Organization of Islamic Countries, it in fact is a slap on the face of the Indian society. And this is what I think my Indian friend and also the Indian society has to be worried about. They have great past as well. They were the secular state, but they are not no more a secular state now. I think in next general election, our Indian friends and majority of Muslims as well, the minorities, they will have to consider which side they are aligning to. I think this is the right time for the Indian Muslims to stand and the truth, Modi
So what,
Sarkar
Mr.
is
Klasra, what
involved
sort
with
of a reaction can it generate when you are dealing with such a huge chunk of population, 220 million, and you are continuously suppressing and hurting their sentiments, especially religious sentiments, which happen to be sensitive? And we saw that Pakistan led the drive from the platform of OIC of getting 15th of March to be recognized as the International Day Against Islamophobia. Despite that, don't you think why there isn't any realization among the top ranks of the BJP especially?
I think it's a great point for the Pakistan. You must appreciate, and we all do. Former Prime Minister Imran Khan, he has raised the Islamophobia on the international forum, and we appreciate him. Now this is the high time for Shahbaz Sharif-led government and to take this point on the OIC's agenda, and also we have to raise this point in the United Nations as well, because Pakistan can score a brownie point on the basis of this, statement. There's a shameful statement given by, the spokesperson, central spokesperson of BJP, and this is the high time for Pakistan to cash on it, and the way the international community has responded to the BJP, that was tremendous, and this was perhaps the reason that BJP has to fire both of their spokesperson as well. But I think this is not enough. Now,
Mr. Klasra, unfortunately, we are short of time. Two questions I would like to ask you. One, what can Muslim countries collectively do, especially from the platform of OIC, when we particularly see that they have been able to get that International Day Against Islamophobia to be recognized at the United Nations? So what now after this particular incident, which has actually made the entire international community to raise eyebrows on this particular incident that has happened in India, what can OIC do collectively? Is there anything that they can do by boycotting the services and the products coming from India?
I think OIC is a great forum. The 50+ country are, the member of this or a super organization, and they have shown their true color as well. Yesterday, they condemned, widely condemned, in strongest terms, and definitely this sort of response I was not expecting. But you must appreciate the OIC that they have responded at least. And secondly, they can go ahead as well, because the major source of foreign reserve for India comes from these Islamic countries as well. I'm talking about United Arab Emirates and Saudi Arabia and other things as well, and Canada is over there as well. But we are talking about OIC. I think OIC can further push India into the corner, and they have rightly shown their colors as well. And I think, which I was not expecting such type of a statement from the OIC, and they have rightly condemned this sort of Islamophobia, and I think we must appreciate
your point is well taken, Mr. Klasra. Very briefly, what the UN can do in this regard?
I think UN can't do anything. We cannot expect anything from the United Nations because of the superb diplomacy that the diplomats of India has been doing, because they have strong.
Your point is well taken, Mr. Kaswar Klasra, senior journalist. Thank you very much for being at Newsroom with us. We really appreciate your time. Now, let's move to the second topic that we have to discuss in this program. India has unleashed the reign of terror and killing spree, especially targeting the youth in the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir. Now, in the recent targeted killing of the youth, 10 innocent Kashmiri youth have been killed in different staged encounters and during the cordon and search operations. Now, I would like to quote Mr. Shangshi Zhong, who is a professor of the Southwest University of Political Science and Law. He says that another 10 innocent Kashmiris youth were brutally killed by Indian occupation forces is clearly another evidence of state terrorism committed by Indian authorities. And there has been a serious violation of human rights which has undermined regional peace and stability. And more than 609 innocent Kashmiris have been martyred by Indian occupation forces in the staged encounters since the revocation of Article 370. That was on the 5th of August 2019. And to discuss this, we are now joined by Mr. Mustafa Abdullah Baloch, who is a foreign affairs expert. He is joining us on Skype. Mr. Baloch, thank you very much for your time. Since the revocation of Article 370 of the Indian Constitution and the illegal annexation of illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir by India in clear violation of the Security Council resolutions, the Simla Accord and the 4th Geneva Convention as well. This reign of terror, particularly targeting the youth in the held territory, has increased manifold. What do you think? What sort of things India wants to achieve by targeting the youth there?
See, actually, the fascist mindset of BJP and Modi have been trying to, influx and thrust the Hindutva mindset across India and as well as in Kashmir. See the pattern, or if you see the pattern, first they revoked Article 370 and refused to give the fundamental rights to the people of Kashmir, and then later on the black judgment from the Indian courts by giving life imprisonment to the leader of Kashmir, Yasin Malik. That was a very tragic thing for the people of Kashmir who have been fighting for their rights since a long time. And then after all that, continuously they are killing and oppressing the youth of Kashmir. See, this is a severe matter of concern for the international community as well as for Pakistan as well, because Pakistan will always stand for the people of Kashmir, and we have always stood for the rights of people of Kashmir, and they look for towards us. So this is something which India should reconsider, that they cannot prolong this madness, and ultimately they will get a retaliation from the people of Kashmir. Even in the worst pandemic of mankind, there was no information for what was happening with the people of Kashmir. They were denied of all those mainstream communication mediums. They cannot use any internet. They cannot use any television. They cannot use any sort of satellite mediums so that they can connect with the people of the globe. So this is something a very a tragic thing going on in Kashmir, and the fascism of India, and there should be a boycott, international boycott, and very strict boycott, because this thing cannot prolong.
Mr. Baloch, when we talk about targeted killing of youth, Pakistan has been advocating Kashmir cause on different international fora. It has shed a lot of light on what the Kashmiris, particularly when we talk about during the COVID-19 pandemic over the last 2 years, they were deprived of every basic necessity. A consistent curfew and the communication blackout, as you already mentioned, was in place. That continues to be there in place to date, and killing spree unleashed as well. Now, given the circumstances when youth is being targeted and they are being killed in extrajudicial murders and fabricated charges are being framed against them, can Pakistan have that option of going to International Criminal Court in order to bring India on that platform and stop it from carrying out such brutal activities?
Exactly, that is something which is the last option. See, we have to take it seriously, because the way they are targeting the youth, and why they are actually targeting the youth, the reason is that they know that the youth of Kashmir is devastated. They cannot tolerate all this, fascism continuously. And one more thing, what Modi is trying to do, he's trying to influx all those Hindus from the main India, and they are trying to influx them towards Kashmir to bring those local Kashmiri people into minority. So this is something a matter of concern for the locals over there. So definitely they will retaliate, and they are retaliating. And
so do you think it is a systematic tactic to change the demography over there in the held territory?
Yes, definitely, because revocation of Article 370 has also given the right to the Indians, that they can buy property over there. They can they can live over there. So this is obviously it's a planned strategy to turn the local Kashmiris into a minority.
Okay, there has been a reaction from the U.S. side, and the National Security Advisor, Mr. Jake Sullivan, has said U.S. does discuss freedom, human rights issues with India when it deviates from the basic principles of freedom and human rights. And President Biden has been very clear right from the beginning that we'll speak out about these issues with India. Do you think, especially given the U.S., it's playing its due role in order to impress upon India that it is committing the human rights violations over there?
Frankly speaking, I don't think so that the US is playing any kind of serious role in this matter, and this is a very serious thing. And I guess all those international big powers, they should keep their personal interests aside, and they should they are champions of humanity. So that they actually, there is a humanitarian crisis in Kashmir. So this is not something. This is not a political thing. This is a humanitarian crisis going on. In the worst pandemic, we don't know that whether the Kashmiri people were given the basic medical aid or not. So that's that. We don't know how many people were killed with COVID-19. So we don't know. We don't know anything. Nobody knows what's happening in Kashmir. So this is a very.
You think this response by the U.S. is not sufficient? Okay, thank you very much. Your point is well taken, Mr. Mustafa Abdullah Baloch, Foreign Affairs expert, joining us on Skype. Thank you for your time, and we really appreciate that. And with this, we come to the end of today's newsroom. Now, the BJP over there in India needs to understand the sensitivity of the matter when it comes to the religious sentiments of such a huge chunk of population that happens to be 220 million in India. It can definitely be detrimental to the social fabric in the longer run over there. And especially when we talk about Kashmir, the kind of brutalities and atrocities under the BJP regime have been unleashed over there. They should be talked about, and the international community has a specific role in order to ensure the security and the stability of that illegally occupied valley by India, because it happens to be a nuclear flashpoint between two nuclear armed states, between Pakistan and India. International community needs to play its concrete role in this regard. Thank you very much for being with us at the newsroom. I really appreciate that.